Hi everyone, it's Karen here. Welcome to another video with me. And I decided at the beginning of this year that what I might like to do is make 12 beautiful booklets. So here I am on the 13th of every month. If you enjoy it, I will carry on to show you how I create these little folders, these tiny little booklets. They're 10 centimeters square and they're full of all sorts of wonderful little things. My goal here is not that you rush out and buy all sorts of new products. I'd love us to use our stash because I'm sure we've all got lots of it. So the theme for this booklet is circles. So I have tried to put circles on every single page. I haven't got a full description of the entire booklet, but I've shown you how we can create the outside and decorate it, and then some of the inside pages. So if I just do a quick flick through for you, I've created the outside with Distress Oxides, and of course starting my little booklet with my favourite colours, blues and purples. There's water splatters for some texture. So if you carry on watching, I'll show you how to make this tiny little booklet. I've decorated the inside, stenciling, sparkles, bling, and each of the pages means something special to me. I've used some of these stickers I have had for years. This paper I've had for at least 2 years. I made these gel prints about 3 years ago. This is a recent one, so that's good. This is a recent one. I've made some little tags in the insides. These I made about 4 or 5 years ago. These are a tiny little set of postage stamps. So I'm going to be using up those as opposed to them just sitting in my drawer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I created the folio, some of the pages, how I put it together. Each month I want to put it together for you in a different way, teach you some new techniques, maybe some different clasps. So I do hope you'll join me. I hope that you'll tag along with me in my little booklet making. And if you enjoy it, we'll carry on throughout the year. So we will get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is create our little booklet. Out on an A4 sheet of card, now this is 300 GSM, but you can choose to do it in whatever thickness that you prefer. Out of an A4 sheet of card, we're going to get 2 little booklets. So on my scoreboard, I am going to score it at 10 centimetres, at 20 centimetres, and then 22. So we've got a 10 centimetre flap, a 10 centimetre flap, and a 2 centimetre flap. I'm going to fold it over. For that, I'm going to use my bone folder. And when you're folding it, just make sure that the edges line up. Start at this end, take your bone folder, and so that you get a nice crisp image. Then we're going to fold it from this end, and again, lining it up. Take your bone folder and get yourself a nice crisp edge. And then the third fold. Now the third fold is what we're going to cut off. So this effectively is your little booklet. This side folds over onto the flap, and then this little piece folds over. You'll see what happens in a second. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut this extra piece off. We don't want this piece. And then you're going to cut this at 10 centimetres and 10 centimetres. So you'll have a tiny bit left over. So here we've got it. I've cut that piece off. and I've cut 2 little booklets out of that A4 sheet that we had. So I'm going to put this aside for next month, and then I'm just going to create my little corners here, and for that I'm going to measure 1 centimetre in and 1 centimetre across, and the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to snip from mark to mark, and that is the outline of our little booklet. How easy was that? For this month I'm going to punch a hole in there. I haven't made all of the booklets up, so they might change, but if you want to have them all the same, that's fine. Now, depending on the thickness of card that you've used, you might find that as you folded it, it's come right up against this fold. So just trim a bit off. You want it to be folding and flapping really easily. Okay. So your little booklet is 10 centimetres square. Now, I always work with it that this flap, because this is how I want it to open, this flap is on this side. Okay. Now I'm going to decorate the outside first, but you can do the inside whichever way you like. For that, so all you have to do now is just decide what colours you want. I couldn't not start with blues and purples for me, so I've got Blueprint Sketch and Dusty Concord. I will also be using paints throughout the series, but I am going to start today with my Distress Oxides. And for that, I'm just going to lay some colour down. So I'm going to start with my Blueprint Sketch and just pop some blocks of colour over the outside. Now, as I've said, you can do this any way you like. Perhaps you've got a favourite patterned paper that you want to use. As I said, what's important here is let's just use what's in our stash, because we've all got a bit of that, haven't we? So you can see I'm just creating blocks of colour there, blue, and now I'm going to come in with my purple. I'm using Dusty Concord this time. So yes, let's just use whatever's in your stash. So what it might be a good idea is create a little box and find all those bits of paper, those leftover gel prints that you didn't know what to do with, that leftover background that you thought was too gorgeous to do anything with. Pop it all into a box, and throughout the year, as we make our little booklets, you'll be able to utilise those different pieces of paper in different ways. There we go, a block of colour. It's not the most even blend you'll ever see, but with the texture that we're going to put on, it really won't matter. So I'm going to be using this fabulous stencil. This is from All and Create. It's called Totally Dotty, and I've got the A4 size. They do a 6 by 6 inch. I just love it, and for this theme of circles, what better way? You can see how well loved this is. It's probably doubled its weight in terms of paint, but there you go. So I'm just going to lay this on top of that which I've just blended, and then I'm going to use the contrasting colour. So on the blue patches I'm going to put purple, and on the purple patches I'm going to put blue. So I'll start with my blue and just gently, so it doesn't need to be too definite. Otherwise you'll end up with it looking too contrived. So you can see how I'm just going softly into that purple, like that. Now I'm going to move this stencil because I think some of these circles are too large for such a small piece of art. So I'm going to move it so that I do get some bigger circles, but mostly the smaller circles. Let's put some over here. This is a fun bit. So you can see how that layer is building up. And you're going to get the look of depth by pressing harder and lighter in some areas. You can see here I've pressed really lightly, so it makes it look as though it's faded into the background. I'm now going to take up my purple and start to lay that over the blue, just like that. It's so much fun. Look at that. Not overthinking it. That is my goal for you for this booklet series. We are not going to overthink this. And when you find yourself starting to think too much, walk away. Give it a break. That's what I did when I was making it. I thought I am starting to try to control this too much. So I walked away. And when you come back, you've got a fresh perspective. So doesn't that look fun? Just two colours. And you've got quite a variegated background there. Now I'm going to create one extra layer of texture here, just with my spritzy bottle and some water splatters. So I've just got some water on my mat, and I'm just going to use my fan brush and bounce it all over my cover. Getting my piece of kitchen towel. Actually, I'm going to give it for just a second to let it dry on its own, because you seem to get a deeper bleach if you leave it to dry on its own. Yeah, you can see it already starting to happen here. I'm just going to roll this over, dab it. Look at that. That's really fun. So there we have the outside cover of our little booklet. How easy was that? Now, what I do want to do is just punch my hole here so that in my mind's eye, I know exactly where the center of that line is. And to do that, I am going to measure it halfway. So this would be 8 centimeters, and I'm just going to go tiny bit this side of 4, tiny bit this side, so I know that my hole needs to be punched somewhere in the center of that. There we have it. Good. So there is the start of our little booklet. Super fun, hey? Now, as I said in the beginning, I am not going to talk you through the making of the entire booklet, because I would like you to use your ideas, your improvising, and during our tag series, just before around Christmas time, I loved seeing what you made. So that's my goal for this one as well. I'm going to talk you through some of the steps. Each month I'll do a few different steps, so you'll begin to build up a portfolio of techniques that you can use to build your own little booklets. So what I did, now for the center, you can do whatever you like. What I did for mine, as you saw, was something very bright and bold, and I did that using paints and mark making tools. I'm going to leave that and show that to you perhaps in a later video. As I said, I don't want you to get too bored. So I then went through my stash and I found bits of paper, plain paper, just a piece of plain old copy paper this is, because I wanted it to be thin. Then I'd had some fun jelly printing. So here I'd used leaves from the garden, and this was paints on a gel plate. Now this one is also one of my gel plates prints. Look at that. And then I've just doubled it with a piece of ready-made paper. With each one, the theme was circles. So I was just following that theme and making sure that most of the pieces, this one hasn't, but most of the other pieces has circles in it. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm building up my little layers in my booklet. Obviously, the width is 10 centimeters, but you can see I varied the length and the opening spread of these. It just creates a bit more interest. Then this one. This is a funky looking little print, and the remains of my brayer is on the underside. So I'm going to use that, pop that into the center here. Now, let me just tell you what I did with this one. This is 2 sheets of a gel print. Here's one side and here's the other. I'm going to show you how I created this little pocket into which I'm going to put these little tags. Okay, so I'll show you that in a second, but I just want to show you how I built up the pages for my little booklet. I don't think that we want more than 4 or 5 sheets, otherwise it becomes too thick. And if we're going to sew it, it's going to be really cumbersome. So that's what I did. 1 sheet of plain, 1 sheet of patterned, and it's plain on the back, so I'll show you. Once I've put it together, then we'll do some more stenciling. Right, now, these little treasures I've had in my stash for ages. I did a challenge where I did 30 postage stamps, and I've never used them for anything. So I dug them out and I thought, you know what, I'm going to put them, because they've got circles. They've got circles. I'm going to put them in the center of my booklet. Remembering that, I'm going to keep them to the edges because I've got a stitch down the center of my booklet. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Go and have a little scout around your stash. Find some pages that might work. If they're all different colours, even better. I kept sort of this bluey, purpley theme for this little booklet, but I'm not sure that I'm going to do that for every single one. Okay, so to create our little booklet in which we can put these little tags in the centre of, let's create the tags first. So I just used pieces of my old jelly plate printing and I made these tiny little tags. The tag sizes is 3.5 centimetres by 6 centimetres. That's quite a nicely proportioned tag. And this one's just the same width but a little bit shorter at 4.5 centimetres. I think it's quite nice to create just a bit of interest here in terms of varying the lengths. And then I just snipped off the edges. Now for this one, I double-sided it because I quite liked this piece of jelly print. And then I put different patterned paper on the back and I just glued those together and snipped them round. You might want to make a template because I think this is a well-proportioned little tag and we might use this in different other booklets that we're going to make. So, how are we going to create the little pocket in which these sit? Like this. Take 2 pieces of card, paper, whichever you like. I love these. These were jelly prints that I did using leaves. Fun. And this one I used a jelly print using bubble wrap with 2 tones of colours. And again, it's been sitting in my stash for months and months. So as I said, the great way to use up some of your leftovers. You don't have to use the same proportions as I have, but the width of this one is 7 centimetres, and this is just going to sit nicely in the centre of this little booklet like that. So I folded it in half, and this one as well. Okay. Now, to glue them together, you don't want to use glue because we need to have this little pocket. We need to have this little gap in the centre. So what we're going to do is we're going to run tape around the edge of our little piece. Now, one of your sheets, one of your sides, you want it to be longer than the other, and you'll see why in a second. So this is my master one, and I'm just going to put some tape onto it. If I can find the edge. I'm going to run tape along the bottom. You want to keep the tape close to the edge so that you've got as much space as possible for the tag to pop in and out. Okay, I'm leaving the centre for now. And the reason for that is because if I put tape down the spine here, if I wanted to sew it, and as I say, we're not going to sew all of them, but if I wanted to sew it, it's going to make it really extra thick and my needle will land up with some of that glue on it. So I'm not going to glue the centre. So I've got tape down here, and along here. We will work out the spine in a second. Now, obviously, I want that on the outside and that on the outside, so make sure you've got them the right way. And I am actually, I want the blue at the top, just because I do. So I am going to join these two at one edge, because I've measured them the same. And I'm just going to join one side of it together. So that's nicely glued there, okay? And then I am going to fold this piece over this side. If you do it all in one go, because of the thickness of the card, you will land up with a ridge and it won't work, okay? So I'm just going to snip this excess off now. And what we've got is a little pocket in the top. And then our bottom is secured and glued. Okay. And then I'm just going to snip that off so it's even. I hope you've got that and I hope that works for you. Look at that lovely gel plate print. And then we can just pop our little tags in the top. Okay. So that's that one. And another thing that you might like to do is create this little pocket, which is really, really cute. You can put your little tag in the top of it like that. Okay. So to do that, we're going to get a little piece of paper. And you want paper for this. You don't want card because it's too hard to bend. This is a 7 centimetre square paper. And what we're going to do is double-sided, but you don't need that double-sided. And we're just going to fold it over like that. You can use a bone folder to crisp the edges, but I just use my fingernails like that. So you want to make sure that they're overlapping a tiny bit down the centre of your fold. You're then going to take your bone folder and your scorer, and you're going to make a tiny little fold at the bottom. Doesn't matter, top, bottom, whichever. And you're going to open it out. So now you've got your folds on the side and your fold at the bottom here. Make that crisp. Okay. And now we're going to snip along the fold, both sides. Okay. And then diagonally in the centre. So what that's going to give you is a little envelope fold. There you go. Isn't that cute? And then all I did with this one is I just used one of my punchers to punch it along the top. Like that. And then I'm going to glue it before we stick it into our little booklet. So there's a couple of little techniques that you can do for your little booklet this month. As I said, each month I will build up the portfolio, so we'll land up with a massive portfolio of techniques by the end of the year. But for now, I'm just going to put my little folder together. So here's my outside. My first layer is going to be a plain piece of paper. Then I'm going to layer my gel plate print. I am going to use this one because it is circles, so I do want to, I'm just going to take my little tags out the top, put this one in the centre of it, and I'm going to wait until I've joined it together before I put my extra embellishments in. Okay, you want to make sure that that's all lined up now. So what I've landed up with is 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4. I think that's enough. Okay, so some of our little booklets we are going to sew and stitch, but today I'm going to use my hole punch. So what I did was I've lined up all my pages, and then I measured the centre of this, what would be the centre of my pages. And obviously that's 5 centimetres because this width is 10. And then I went 1.5 centimetres out each side. And I'm just going to punch it all together. There. That one. Holding it firmly so that they all stay together. And that one. There we have it. Lovely. Now I am going to tie that with my lovely piece of string, which I have doubled over, and I'm just going to pop it through here. So there we have our gorgeous little booklet that's just bound with our piece of twisted cord, and all our pages are in the centre. As I said, some of them we might stitch so they'll become a bit more solid, but I thought this was a great little way to start. Now, when we get to the end, I am going to put I'm going to put more of this thread to secure the whole booklet. But for now, we're going to have a play and decorate. I'm going to start with my centerpieces, and I'm going to pop my gorgeous little postage stamps in the center. And then we're going to put our little tags into our little pockets in the center here. Look at that. Cute little pockets, cute little tags in the center. I am going to use one of my little envelope pockets that I made. I'm going to glue this down. So to glue that, I'm just going to put a string of glue down the center there, making sure I always put something on the inside. Actually, I usually use a piece of plastic or acetate, because just in case that glue squelches, it might squelch to the front of your little envelope, and then you won't be able to tuck anything into it. So isn't that cute? So I'm going to pop that there. So now I'm going to play. I'm going to use some of my stencils, decorate some of my plain pages, and I'll come back to you. So here we are. I've had so much fun decorating my blank pages here. So we'll start with the full flip through. So my covers are quite subdued compared to the first page and the end page. But you know what? I think that's what life's like, isn't it? Sometimes you open the cover and it's like, oh my goodness, it's a mad time. So here we go. This is a mad time. This is a mad page. I had these lovely little stickers. Make this journey of your own. So I thought that was very perfect for our little booklets, where we're not overthinking. We're going to use our stash. We are literally going to have fun because the pages are so small. I think it just lends itself to going with it. See what happens. So we've got a bit of sparkle, a bit of stenciling there, and then something a little more subdued. My grateful heart is exploring, because I thought after that crazy page we just needed something a bit quieter. And I've had a little pocket here, and I'm just going to see what I want to put in that. And then you've seen these pages. My little tags here, I've just put some words on them. And then you saw us with the center pages. I haven't decorated this because I absolutely love this gel plate print that I made. I'm still thinking about what I can put in here. And then I've got my little tags with some more little words. The loveliest of things. Life is wonderful, and a gracious smile. So again, I haven't decorated the back because I just love that. Now here's a funny story. I was looking for the word. I opened my dictionary and I thought I'm going to take whichever word I open the page at. And I thought, oh, that says cuddle. So I thought that's perfect. So I cut it out, made my little page with it, and then I put my glasses on. And actually I realised it's not cuddle at all. It's cull. And I thought, well, maybe that's what I ought to be doing with my craft supplies. But never mind. Here we have a tiny little pocket with a lovely little bow. Just again, something really smooth and gentle. Here is one of my gel plate prints, which I just love. I've typed over it and just created some texture in the background there. And then something, of course, you can't have a booklet without glitter, really. So some of my favourite flowers with some glitter and sparkle. I did end up tying it with not the same ribbon as I've put on the spine, but something a bit firmer. And then I just tied it into there and I've just wrapped this around. Now in some of my later booklets I'm going to show you how to create some little beads, but for now I've just tied the edge there. So there's our little booklet. If you enjoyed this, I will keep going, but it was an experiment and I would love to see your makes. I do have a group which is Carantelle for Craft Creative Community. I would love it if you would post your makes in the group, and I will be back again next month on the 13th with another little booklet and some more little embellishment ideas. Until then, bye for now.